Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Monomyth Diaries, a podcast where ordinary people get to share their hero's journey. I'm Mandi.
And I'm Karen, and we'll be your hosts.
We'll discover powerful insights, critical moments of growth, and much more.
Thanks for joining us. We all have a monomyth to share, and someone out there needs to hear it.
Welcome to the Monomyth Diaries, where it's a take what you like and leave the rest podcast. Today's featured hero is my son, Weston. I'm super excited that he's joining us. He is home from college, actually heading back today. So Weston is here to tell us about an adventure he went on during his first semester.
So I'm going to college at the University of Utah, really just for the climbing, being outdoors, the snowboarding.
Not for the education.
Yeah, comes second. You can't learn if you're not happy.
Okay, and it's in Salt Lake City.
And it's in Salt Lake City. It's nice, close to everything, and I absolutely love it up there. I'm kind of happy to go back. She's sad, I'm happy.
So anybody that's listened to the podcast already knows that I'm super sad. I've talked about you a lot on the show, that I'm super proud of you. And
goes to show that I watch it.
You promised yesterday you were going to at least watch Christina's. Yeah, so also,
I'll listen to it on the plane.
Yeah, and if you watched some of the episodes or listened to some of the episodes, you'll know that my friend Christina was actually his mentor, and she actually really loves him. Yeah, she said you were a mentor for like one wedding, and he hired you because she says you're amazing, and someday you're going to do amazing things. So
someday.
Well, you got to get to college first. Yeah, right now it's good. All right, let's start with some Monomyth story starters.
Okay.
We'll get to know you a little better and get you comfortable, but I don't think you're very nervous. All right.
Hello.
All right, Weston, what is your dream vacation?
My dream vacation is probably to Yosemite National Park.
And why do you want to go there?
The climbing.
Well, what's special about the climbing in Yosemite?
It is some of the world's best climbing, and it's infamous. I mean, if you watch any climbing documentary or movie, it's in Yosemite.
Okay. And that's where they sleep on the walls and stuff.
Well, they do that in a lot of places, but yeah, the wall is so big that most people, there are a few that do it for racing, but most people will spend typically a week or two on the wall.
Oh my gosh. So wait, so you climb up and you sleep on the wall like 7 times?
Yeah, so you'll go up a certain amount and then you'll set up kind of like a tent. It's a platform that you set up that you hook up to the wall.
Mm.
You sleep tied into it, and you'll go up to there. You'll camp. You'll wake up. You'll go up to wherever you are on the wall. You'll climb up higher as high as you can get that day. You'll lower back down to that spot. You'll ascend back up to your now new high point. You'll climb even higher. You'll come back down. You'll sleep.
I didn't realize they would do that for a week.
Yeah.
What's your guilty pleasure? Just remember your mama's sitting next to you. So
My guilty pleasure.
Keep it PG.
Sweets.
I knew you were going to say that.
Sweet tooth. I try not to. I do.
I know.
It doesn't help when Grandma gives me a box of fudge right before I go back, and I can't bring it on the plane, so I'm going to eat it all right before we go.
Right, and I give you your favorite chocolates, so, and you're going to take this with you. All right, dogs or cats?
Dogs. Hands down.
I knew that. Tell us about your dog.
My dog, Gigi Slobbers, farts a lot.
What's her full name?
Oh, God. Gigi Slobbers, farts a lot, Smelly Scooby, Goose Kitty, Piggy, McFly.
What's your favorite hobby? I think you've already answered this. Climbing.
Yeah, climbing.
Climbing. What's your second favorite hobby?
Photography. And then snowboarding.
Everybody who's listened to this already knows that you're a photographer and that you started your own business. So.
And I helped set this up.
We'll drop your page in here too.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
Free plug.
Yeah, we'll give you a free plug. We've given you free plugs before too, though. I don't know. Again, if you listen, there's one where we shout you out to say thank you for all of your help to get the podcast started. So, do you have a favorite quote or mantra?
I asked myself, can I do one more?
Okay. I like that. Can I do one more? There's a great book that Ed Milet wrote called The Power of One. One more, I think is actually what it's called.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. One more, and then one more. You learned that yesterday.
You did say that to me yesterday when we worked out. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
there. Favorite mantra. All right.
Do one more.
All right, well, let's jump into this, Weston. Gosh, it was back in October. You called us and told us
It was November.
November.
I called you.
To tell us you're going.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're going on
Yeah.
a hiking
was-
adventure.
It was Halloween night. I called you. I was packing. So I'm going.
And where were you going?
I was going. I didn't know this at the time, but it's a place called the Uintas. It's about 4 hours east of Salt Lake City.
And what were you going to do there?
I was just going to go for 3 or 4 day, maybe even 5 backpacking journey, just for fun.
So Salt Lake City, what's the weather like there in Salt Lake City at that time of the year?
Lake is pretty nice. It's 35, 40, maybe even 45 degrees typically.
Mm-hmm. And then where you went, what's the weather like?
Well, so I looked at the weather and it said it was supposed to be between 35 and 40 degrees. So I figured pretty good. I've got not a winter tent, but I've got a winter sleeping bag. It's sub-zero. I've got a liner. I've got nice heavy winter clothes. I should be fine. And
it's probably important to note too that you are an Eagle Scout.
Yes.
So you have spent a lot of time hiking out in the wilderness.
And backpacking all my life.
Yeah, very prepared.
So I thought.
I love that. See, you are humble. Yesterday we had a conversation about him being humble.
It said it was supposed to be between 35 and 40 degrees. What I did not realize was that the weather where I checked was at the base of the road into the actual Uintas area. So what I didn't realize this at the time, but I was actually going to hike at some Native American Ute Indian Native American lands.
Ute Indians.
Ute Indian Native American lands. Okay. And so I get to the base and it's 35 degrees. And then I realized I had a 6,000 foot climb in my car, and elevation makes it cold. Really cold. And so I'm driving up this maybe 8 foot wide road, got about a foot on each side of my car, and it's just this little gravel road going up switchbacks up this, not necessarily a mountain, but it's definitely not a hill.
Was it snowy yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
There was snow, but it wasn't covered, and so I think it was also partially melting, which was probably not good because it was going to freeze overnight. And on a switchback up a mountain with ice,
and your little
with all-season tires on my 2-wheel Honda Accord. Doesn't go well.
That's also a manual.
It's also a manual. That kind of helps.
Does it?
Keep it in low gear.
Okay. I guess that's true.
So it starts at 35 degrees, and I start going up, and every 2 minutes or so, I just see my thermometer in my car just ticking down. It's like, oh god, it's gonna get cold.
Was there ever any moments where you were like, maybe I shouldn't do this?
To get up to where I intended on parking, it was about 10 miles from the base. And at the base, I already had no service. So if I exit my Google Maps, I'm losing my maps because I didn't have a download.
Oh, so lesson 1.
Lesson 1, download your maps. Bring a paper map. Which I also probably should have, but this is about a show where we learn from our mistakes, right?
That's right. That's right.
I need a pen or a paper just to write down all the things I learned.
That's all right. You can just rewatch this. Keep going.
I get probably about 7 miles up before the snow on the gravel trail gets too deep for my car to get through. So my tires start spinning, so I'm not going any further. But I can't block this road because I don't know who's going to be on it. So I have to figure out how to find a place to park because the parking lot is just an extra space on the side of the road that I was intending on going to was still another 3 miles, and there was no way I was going to get my car another 3 miles. So I have to figure out a way to get back, and I can't turn around because I still only have a foot to my left and it goes straight up on this mountain, and I have a foot to the right of my car and it goes straight down on the other side. So there's no way to turn around. So I have to stick my head out the window, throw my car in reverse with cold wind that's now 16 degrees hitting my face as I'm backing up for 4 miles.
You did not share this part of the story with me.
All while listening to my book. And on top of that, I didn't realize that one of the bumps had dislodged the cigarette charger in my car, so my phone was no longer charging. Now it's no longer at 100%, it's at 80. So I get to the spot where I decided to park. There was not enough snow on the ground to where my tires were spinning, so I was able to make a 3-point turn back around, so that way I'm facing the exit for when I leave. Throw the parking brake on, throw a piece of wood underneath the front and back of the tires, that way I'm not sliding when I'm not here. It's the ground freezes and I start moving.
Do you have chains on your tires yet?
I have chains now, they're in the trunk. But
another lesson you learned?
Yes, I did. As soon as I got back from this trip, I went to the store. Picked up some chains.
Okay.
My initial hike for the first day was supposed to be 10 miles. I was going to stop at this place called Fox Lake, and it's not too bad of a hike. The final part is probably the hardest, where there's I think it's 2 miles of switchbacks, a mile up and then a mile down into this little valley where this lake is. This 10-mile hike, however, because I didn't make it to the parking lot, I'm still 6 miles from the parking lot, is now a 16-mile hike. So I get all my gear ready. I did stop by Walmart beforehand, and I picked up basically snow chains for your tires, but for your feet. So it's like a little webbing that hooks the top of your foot and the back, and it's got metals, not spikes. They're not like.
I know what you're talking about. I saw them when we were in Colorado for hikers. Yeah.
Threw them on. Turns out $10 things were. they broke the second day, and so I start the hike. The first 6 miles, I mean, it's fine. I know where I'm going. The phone's turned off, and it's in the warmest pocket I could find. Try to preserve the battery, but it's still dying because it's getting colder. After the 6 miles, I get to a parking spot. I started the hike at 9. It's now around noon. So I say, okay, I'm gonna set down my bag for a second, cook some lunch. I'm getting hungry. I've been up since 4 because it was a 4-hour drive to get there.
So it's noon and cooking lunch.
Yeah, noon cooking lunch.
Did you use your little camping stove?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the propane was struck on though.
But it worked.
It worked. And so I start the actual trail. The actual trail, when there is anywhere from shin-high to knee-high snow, doesn't exist. So I get lost a few times on the trail and have to figure out where I am. But I start going pretty good for the first 2 or 3 miles, and me thinking I'm in the middle of Native American lands, that in the middle of winter, there's no one around. Like, I'm probably the only person within 20 miles. And then I hear a voice. It's like, who are you? What are you doing here? I turn around, and this Native American, probably mid-20s, is standing behind me. I'm like, huh, how about that? His name is Mason. Mid-20s, long hair, some sort of fur.
Really?
Like, fur coat.
Okay.
English is pretty good. It's probably his first language.
I didn't realize you met him, like, straight away.
It wasn't straight away. It was after, like, an hour, 2 hours of hiking.
Yeah, but I guess I thought you had met him later on.
No.
So is your phone dead at this point already?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's back up to that. So you said that you tried to put it in a warm pocket because it's losing charge.
Yeah.
Why is it losing charge?
The batteries do not do well in the cold. I don't even know what the temperature was. It was cold, though. I checked my thermometer on my compass that was in my bag when I went to bed, and it was 4 degrees.
4 degrees,
Yeah.
okay. I read recently that iPhones only work between typical temperatures of 32 and 75. Anything outside of that range starts to drain your battery quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you learned that.
Yeah, so I had actually brought 2 portable chargers with me, and they're pretty, like, they're not huge, but they're pretty big portable chargers. They usually get me between 50 to 100% battery, and the 2 of them combined got me 4% collectively.
Because they got to.
Yeah, because they die so quickly.
Okay.
So I meet Mason, and we get chatting, and he was like, yeah, what are you doing out here? I was like, yeah, I'm just out here for a hike. This is where I learned that it's Native American land.
Oh, you didn't know that going in?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay.
No.
I didn't know that
I
either.
apparently missed the sign on the way in. So we get talking, and I don't know how it got brought up, but it got brought up that I had never been hunting.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, you never been hunting? Would you like to try? I was like, would I ever? Absolutely.
So is he out there by himself?
Yeah, so he, before we got into the hunting thing, he said that him and his dad had been living out there off the land for the last 10 years, I think he said, 10 or 15.
Did you meet his dad too?
I did not meet his dad, just Mason. So he proceeds to teach me how to track a rabbit's tracks in the snow, like which way they're going based off of the indents in the snow, depending on how deep they are and how fresh they are, depending on if it's snowed, how far away it could be, how to shoot his homemade bow and arrow made out of some sort of wood it's very flexible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what kind of wood he said it was, but it's pretty common, especially in the Uintas. The bow staff was made out of that. The actual string was made from woven lake weed from the lake. And he taught me how to shoot his homemade bow and kill and skin and cook a rabbit over a fire.
That's pretty crazy.
I was just like, is there a camera? Am I in a movie? Like, talk about...
So what was that like to kill your
experience.
first rabbit? Like, you've never killed anything before.
It was really cool.
And you skinned it yourself.
Yeah.
And then how did you cook it?
Over a fire. Stuck a stick through it.
Like a rotisserie.
Yeah, kind of like a rotisserie chicken.
Wow, fascinating. And did you spend the afternoon with him after that?
No, I probably spent about 2 hours with him.
Okay. And then what did you do after that?
So I decided to continue my hike, picked up my bag again.
Did you know where you were going, or did he have to point you in the right direction?
I got back on the trail, and so a couple more hours go by. I'm in the woods for most of this, and I get to this opening. It's this huge opening. I probably should have guessed that it was some sort of water,
Okay.
but I didn't. It's just flat. There's some rocks sticking out. I hear a crack. I look down. Plop. In go my feet into a river. So I'm mid-shin high in this river.
It's 4 degrees.
It wasn't 4. It was 4 when I went to bed, so it was probably like 10.
Okay.
It's so much better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Now you're all wet.
yeah, being cold in the snow is one thing, but snow is dry when it's that cold. It doesn't melt too easily.
Right.
So my feet are cold, but they're dry. Now my feet are wet, and wet feet are not fun.
No, that's how you get frostbite.
And what I had my snowboard socks.
Ooh.
I had doubled my snowboard socks.
And boots. Did you have boots on?
I had my Scarpa Pro shoes on.
Okay. Waterproof.
Boots are here. Well, they're waterproof up to my ankle.
That's true enough.
And then it doesn't help when the water goes in through the top.
No, it does not.
And so I had waterproof pants on. There's still an
I
opening.
guess it could have been worse.
Could have been worse. Could have been worse. The issue is that when water is below 32 degrees, it freezes.
Mm.
And so now my feet are cold and the boots are frozen. So I high step my way out of this river. Keep in mind, the snow is anywhere from shin to knee high. So not only am I hiking these 10 miles, I'm high stepping the entire time. I keep hiking a couple more miles. I'm slowly going up this mountain, and I get to the top, and I realize that I'm on the trail, but the trail goes back down and then back up another mountain, and that's the trail with the switchbacks. And the sun's starting to go down. While sunset wasn't for probably another hour or two, it was going to get dark because it's going to be behind the mountain.
And colder.
And colder. I say, there's no way I'm going back down just to go up a mile of switchbacks, to go back down another mile of switchbacks, just to get to a river that I thought I was going to be able to drink from with my life straw that's going to be frozen.
Wait, so you don't have any water either?
I have water,
Oh, okay.
but that was going to be my refill spot for day 2.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to find a place to set up camp right here, but I'm on a mountain, so it's not steep, but it's not exactly level.
It's not flat,
exactly
yeah.
comfortable to sleep on.
Okay.
So I'm trying to find a spot where it kind of levels out. And I'm also looking for a spot that's next to some sort of rock or boulder or something to sleep behind to kind of protect myself from the wind. Eventually, I find a spot that's somewhat flat. I just stick my feet lower and my head higher. It'll be fine. I set up my tent. My hands are freezing because that tent is ridiculously hard to set up in the summer, much less the winter. This tent is also, to be structurally sound, it requires the stakes, or else it will fall over. And the snow is 1.5 feet deep, so stakes don't stick in the snow.
Well, yeah, and they're not going to go into the hard frozen ground either.
Yeah. Luckily, they were pretty solid stakes. They weren't going to bend too easy. So I'm digging with my hands. My hand's cold now. I set up the tent and set down my pack inside the tent, and then I go to get my propane out to cook some dinner and warm myself back up. Propane doesn't work. So now I'm looking for firewood.
Oh, you never told me about this part.
I did. You weren't paying attention.
I was probably crying.
I called them on the drive back and told them all of this, and they said that I'm not allowed to do it again without either a buddy or a satellite phone. This entire time I have no service and my phone is dead.
I never told you that.
Yes, you did. Dad told me that.
I think he said, son, maybe you might want to take somebody with you next time.
Yeah, that's his way of saying don't do it again.
Or maybe for Christmas you might get the satellite phone. He was just making some suggestions.
Yeah. And then I called Franklin and told him the same story, and he was a lot more interested. Or excited.
I bet. He's not thinking about his only offspring off in the woods, getting lost, getting frozen. It's not a mom's dream. I thought I did very well.
You did do very well.
And you couldn't see my face then, though.
No.
If you could have seen my face, it was like, Dad and my eyes were this big. We're looking at each other like, what is happening? Sorry.
So I got my tent set up. Propane didn't work. Was looking for firewood. I did bring some fire starters with me. I was prepared in that regard. So I set up this fire, go get in my tent to take my shoes off, and my boots are frozen. The tongue of the shoe is frozen to the sides, which is frozen to the laces and the sides are frozen to my foot. So I can't get the laces off of the side of the shoe. Either I sleep in these frozen shoes with wet socks, or I dangle my feet over the fire to try to get them to thaw. And I decided to go with option 2. I'm sitting in the snow because I didn't bring a chair, trying to dangle my feet over the fire. And I actually think it was more like this because I was trying to get the laces to thaw. Eventually they thaw, but they don't dry. But I eventually get them untied, throw them in my tent, change my socks. They're dry now. Throw some snow into a pot, throw it on top of the fire, wait for it to boil, cook my food with that because I brought these freeze-dried meals. Cook my food, eat it, and I'm exhausted. I've been up since 6. I've been hiking all day. So I set up the sleeping bag, go to bed, wake up, but luckily the fire is still hot. So I throw some snow in the pot, let it sit next to the ashes and the coals.
Embers.
Yeah, that's the word, embers. Let that melt and heat up, throw it in my Nalgene, throw it in the bottom of the sleeping bag, so that way it's some sort of heat that's
Oh, that's a good idea.
wake back up probably another couple hours later, it's cold again, do the exact same thing. Try to restart my fire because it's pretty cold by now.
This is morning?
Nalgene. No, this is like over the night. I'm
Oh,
waking
okay.
up every couple hours because it gets cold.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think this is fun?
It's type 2 fun.
What is type 2 fun?
So there's type 1 fun where you have fun while you're doing it. It's roller coasters, things like that.
Okay,
And
fun.
there's, some sorts of fun. And there's type 2 fun. Type 2 fun is the stuff that is miserable while you're doing it, and then looking back on it, that was a lot of fun. I want to do it again.
Oh, I like that idea of type 2 fun. I've never heard that.
You taught me it the other day. When we were at
I'm
Ryan's.
gonna steal that phrase, type 2. Every time I do one of these episodes, I learn something new from people. Type 2 fun.
There you go, guys. Type 2 fun.
Type 2 fun. That's how I feel about marathons. Yeah, run a marathon, and you're like, I never need to do that again while you're running it. And then like, oh, that was fun. I think I'll do it again.
Type 2 fun.
Okay.
So finally, I wake up. Sun's starting to peek up. There's not over the mountains, but there's daylight. Go to get the Nalgene out of the bottom of my bag. Water's frozen in it. That seems about right. So I go to drink from my Camelback, which is still in my backpack. Rookie mistake. Always throw all of the water that you have in the sleeping bag with you. I know that now. So pack up all my stuff. Go to put my shoes on. Shocker. They're frozen. I set them close to those ashes, trying to get just the laces off. So I can put the shoe on if it's frozen, but I want to be able to tighten it. Go to put in my contacts, they're frozen. I didn't know sailing could freeze, so I'm wearing my glasses for the second day. And this is the deciding point. Do I continue or do I turn back? And this is before I had taken down my tent. So all of the stuff is out in the bag, but the tent is still up. I could probably go to Fox Lake. I know where I'm going, but after that, I don't know. Because my phone's dead and I don't have my map. I don't know the weather for the next day. I don't want to risk it snowing because if it snows, I lose my trail, my footprints.
Yeah.
And I don't have a map. So I'm probably leaning more towards heading back, but I haven't decided yet until it took me an hour to take down my tent because the metal poles had frozen together. I'm standing here with a pole with gloves on, just trying to break it apart.
How did you get it apart?
Fire.
What do you mean? You held it by the fire like everything else?
Just like everything else.
Okay, all
Get the tent down, contemplating just jumping off a cliff.
right.
I'm kidding, don't do that. Say, screw it, I'm going back. And the hike back was easier, mainly because it was mostly downhill. And also I could see how deep the snow was based off of my previous footprints. So I'm tracing step for step exactly where I was, except for the river.
You want to cross it again?
It was either go over it or go 3 miles that way, 3 miles back. And so after 6, 7 hours of hiking, I get back to the car. Do this again.
But type 2 fun will have
Type 2 fun will have me go back.
Yeah.
I'll go back in the summer when it's not frozen.
Okay. You don't think you would go in winter hiking and camping again?
I would, just with the proper equipment. Maybe some snowshoes or some cross-country skis, an all-winter tent.
Maybe do a little rating about what other people have done.
Maybe bring somebody.
Well, okay, so we've already alluded to the fact that I was really worried about you.
Yeah.
Really worried about you.
One more thing, sorry.
Go ahead.
Also, I had told a couple people at the university, and I had told you that I planned to go for 3, 4, maybe even 5 days. So no one was going to come look for me for at least another 4 days.
Right.
So I'm screwed if something bad happens.
Yeah. Yeah. You would have been.
So I get back to the car, throw the heat on full blast
I bet.
on my face and on my feet. Throw my car in first, start letting off the clutch, starting to push on the gas, spinning, not going anywhere. I get out of the car. I'm trying to dig out the tires a little bit to see if there's any ice, which of course there was. Can't go forward. But I could try going backwards, but behind me there's maybe 10 feet, and then there's a drop off to this. Not a huge drop. This would be maybe 10 feet. I'm not gonna die from it, but it's not gonna be fun if I get my car stuck.
No.
And so I don't really have another option. So I try to back up just a tad, so I'm gonna get off of the ice and then accelerate. Luckily that worked. I have it in first. I'm creeping at maybe 10 miles an hour. So I'm going down. There was this one switchback where it's a hard 180 turn to go back down the other way. I turn the wheel. My car keeps going in the same direction.
Oh, Weston.
Oh no! Pull the emergency brake, and it's just still sliding. Eventually comes to a stop. I don't know how far away from the edge I was, but I don't think it was more than a foot.
Oh, it just makes my stomach and my gut just clench.
Luckily it stops, and then I called you guys. I told you this story.
You were very excited when
I
you
was
called it.
very excited. It was so much fun once I was in the car and out of the...
Out of danger?
Not danger. Okay, danger.
I'm not sure what word you would use.
Journey.
Your journey.
My hero's journey.
My hero that you didn't die. Oh, let me tell you. So after we hung up on the phone, actually I told you to call your grandpa. I remember saying, call your grandpa. He'll be very excited about this story because he was an Eagle Scout too. He loves this kind of stuff. I hung up the phone and called Dad's friend, Jonathan. And so we've had some discussions after, and he was so excited.
You want to tell them what Jonathan does?
Oh, yes. So Jonathan is an extreme search and rescue paramedic, something like that. That's what he does. Like he does avalanches, jumps out of helicopters, to rescue people. And he's done, river rafting, guiding in some pretty treacherous conditions. He's a pretty extreme guy. He's one of my favorite people. I just love him so much. So I was telling him this story, and his response was, "Dude, that's epic." Not how I would describe it, but I knew there would be people out there who would think that was a very, very awesome adventure for you. So he did give us some tips and recommendations, and has said that Weston's always welcome to call him if he ever needs anything, any pointers on how to do that moving forward. So he's given us some ideas on satellite phones, and he's the one that actually told us that maybe updating your phone for satellite reasons would be wise.
Yeah, phone 14 and on have satellite capabilities.
Yeah, we've learned a lot.
Who would have thunk it?
Somebody from Shark Tank came up with how to put your phone in that helps keep it warm and helps your battery last 4 times as long. So you put it in this pouch and you put it as close to your chest as possible, and supposedly it's supposed to help you in extreme conditions. So test it out. Let's know if it works. Otherwise, you're getting a satellite phone for your birthday. So what are your biggest takeaways from this experience?
Probably one of the biggest things, not so much that I learned, but just being reminded of during it, is you have to keep a level head. If you panic, it doesn't help anybody. Staying calm, especially in situations that are less than safe, doing the dangerous things safely. That's probably the best way I can put it. Other things, good attitude, maybe do some research before you do something new. Maybe bring someone who has experience in said activity.
That's a really great point. Call people who've done it before. Ask for their experience.
That's what this is all about, right?
That's right.
Share experience.
All right. Well, Weston, thanks so much for doing this.
Of course.
We really appreciate you being on the show. I'm really grateful that you've learned a lot and that you're okay. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you for joining us on the Monomyth Diaries. If this episode resonates with you or someone you know, we'd love for you to share it and spread the inspiration.
Don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube to stay connected.
We'd appreciate it if you could take a moment and rate and review the podcast. It helps us reach more people with stories of transformation and growth.
You can visit us at monomythdiaries.com or text us directly from the show notes to reach out and keep the conversations going.
Until next time, heroes, let's journey together through our monomyths.